As the leader of the Booner Pad, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juice pumping, boys.
Good morning. Welcome to Crunch Time Sports. I'm Jeff Iafrate. All right, it's a Monday morning. Lions win, but it's not just the win we're going to talk about. It's, of course, the biggest storyline from that win, which apparently Dan Campbell is now Andy Reid. So we're going to discuss it all. I have things I want to get to today. I have footage I want to show you guys because the stuff I have to show you brings some context to this whole Dan Campbell play calling thing. And there were some things that players said yesterday, specifically Jahmyr Gibbs, that I think you guys need to hear because it just provides clarity, or I guess more context to how big of a difference Dan Campbell was compared to John Morton. All right. And I mean, it was a great win. Obviously, we were live on our watch party, our post game. So we appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. We were a little shorthanded yesterday. We had some guys out. It's that season. Caleb was not feeling well. Klotzy's dealing with some things. He's coming up next week. All the boys are coming back. So we were a little shorthanded. So any technical difficulties we had, I think we were pretty clean most of the show. You guys bear with us. I know someone commented, delayed. The score isn't right. Listen, we were battling. All right. We were shorthanded, just like the Lions O-line. But it didn't matter. All right. They won. Yesterday was a lot of fun. We appreciate you all for the support on the post game. Like I told you guys, I was going to be live this morning. And we have a big game tonight at 8 p.m. where we're going to be live as well. I think we'll be live at 8 p.m. as usual. So, our camera went out, by the way, because I bumped into it. So that was the only technical difficulty we had on the show, is because I had to plug in my computer that was streaming the game, and I bumped into the cord. So that's an L, Jeff. It's an L, Jeff, for the technical difficulties. But other than that, we were pretty clean. So we appreciate you all. And yes, yesterday was a ton of fun, dude. It was fun watching this Lions offense. It was fun watching this Lions offense, just watching it from a creativity standpoint. And the thing that had everyone freaking out was watching the game and seeing this. Seeing this dude right here with the reading glasses on. The reading glasses in the play call sheet. So this right here is the image that everyone saw when the game started. And it had social media in Lions, the Twitter sphere and Lions social media, all the fans going crazy. Everyone's asking, is Dan Campbell calling plays? Is Dan Campbell calling plays? And I will say, Dan Campbell does not look like this every week. Number one, he doesn't have the reading glasses on. But number two, he'll have a play call sheet on him, but the way he was staring at the play call sheet, it was pretty evident this was different. This wasn't something that you see every single week from Dan Campbell. It was something different. And it was kind of talked about all week from that Vikings loss that the offense kind of needed a shakeup. And we talked about a lot of different things this week, including, John Morton and the narrative kind of surrounding John Morton. But I think the big thing for me was the Lions have talent. There's not a question about it. They have a ton of skill position players that are very talented. Obviously, you saw a lot of those players make plays yesterday. Jamison Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs was back, which Jahmyr Gibbs is, he's always incredible. I know he had a down week last week, but he's always going to make plays. Dave Montgomery, how they utilize him has kind of been inconsistent this year. But J-Mo getting more involved, Caleb Raymond getting more involved. And it's something we talked about a lot this year is they're not really using a wide receiver 3 at all. Shout out to Sam Flannel Sam. He would join the show on Tuesday, I believe it Tuesday or Thursday, regardless. But he brought up how the Lions aren't really using their wide receiver 3. I think at the time, Tesla and Caleb Raymond combined for 100 yards receiving. And what we know about this Lions offense over the last couple of years is that wide receiver 3 is always tallying anywhere from 500 to 600 yards. Tim Patrick, I see Shift Guy in the chat. Tim Patrick was a big part of this offense last year. So, they're running a lot of 12 personnel because of different reasons. Schematically, that's really what they want to do. And Brock Wright's getting more involved. But I think partially it's definitely because of the O-line. They're having an extra blocker out there. But yesterday, it felt like they ran a lot of 11 personnel. They got back to what they usually were doing. And they ran a lot of 12 last year, obviously, but they just weren't using their wide receiver 3. I don't know if they weren't drawing up plays for Khalif or whatever the case may be, but it felt like yesterday they changed that, and they got Khalif Raymond involved a lot, and he made a lot of plays. So it kept the defense for the Commanders, which isn't good. It's not a good defense. So I'm not trying to say that they faced, the best defense in the league. I'm not trying to, I want people to just understand that this has nothing to do with blowing out the Commanders. It's more about how the offense looked. Okay. That's what matters. It's not that you beat up on a bad team. It's that they schematically looked different. How they called the game, the flow of the offense, all of that looked different. And that's what matters to me. That's what my big takeaway was and still is this morning. Watching some of the stuff back. I was up early this morning watching some of the game back, cutting up some stuff for our YouTube. And it was just clear, like the play calling, the flow of the game looked different. It just looked easier. And of course, it's going to look easier because you're facing a worse team. But you could just tell Dan Campbell calling plays. They looked, I think, and Dan Campbell talked about this after the game. They looked how Dan Campbell obviously has a vision for this offense. And for whatever reason, John Morton calling plays, even though John and Dan, I believe, think the same, the flow of the game and how it's been called has not been what Dan probably has expected. And I know Dan tried to have his back in the press conference and the postgame press conference and said, we just needed to change up from a play calling standpoint. We just felt like that would have just gave us a better flow. But let's be real. He never took Ben Johnson's play calling duties away. So Ben clearly did it the right way. And even though him and Dan, John and Dan probably see it the same way. And just like Ben and Dan saw it the same way, Ben can actually call a game the way Dan wanted to. Clearly, John hasn't been able to. So, Dan was able to call plays and do it probably the way he envisioned, and it worked out really well. They spread the ball around like they typically do. Dave Montgomery was involved. Jameis Williams was involved. And I know a big test would be them facing Philly on Sunday Night Football. But you got to love what you saw from Dan Campbell calling plays, man. And he also spoke about how it's hard, when you're a play caller for your team, you're a head coach, like Sean McVay, like Andy Reid, it takes away other responsibilities. You're a head coach. Your number one job is to lead a football team. You're the CEO. You're in charge of offense. You're in charge of defense. You're in charge of special teams. You're in charge of everything. So when you have assistants that are good assistants, it makes it easier because you can trust your assistants and you can kind of be the guy that watches over everybody, make sure everyone's doing their job, and then, you go into game day. I think Dan, he didn't say it directly, but I think in his heart, he would rather do that. That's what he wants to do. He's kind of like a Jim Harbaugh, John Harbaugh. That's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to call plays, but he will if he has to. And obviously, John Morton has not been good this year because people bring up the O-line. The O-line played pretty good yesterday. And again, I know it's the Commanders, so I don't want to take, say the O-line's fixed and back because they're obviously still down Christian Mahogany for most of, if not the entire year. Graham went out, so they had Yodi in there, and Yodi didn't look like he missed a beat. And they had Tristan Colon in at times at center, but the O-line, Dan Campbell did a good job scheming around an O-line that has injuries. He did a really good job. And again, it's hard to measure because they didn't face a great pass rush for the Commanders, but regardless, it just looked better. And they were in a better flow. You could tell watching the game. They were in a way better flow offensively. And this is what, to me, is very telling. Now, I'm going to play this clip of Jahmyr Gibbs, okay? I watched all the player interviews, and this stuck out to me the most because Jared Goff, obviously Jared, and I say this every time I talk about Jared Goff's press conferences, they're so boring. You're not going to learn anything new from Jared Goff speaking, which, by the way, I don't mind. I don't mind my quarterback. If I'm a head coach or a GM, I like my quarterback to, basically say pretty much nothing. So I'm not mad at it, but I don't listen to Jared Goff to get information. I listen to the other guys because I know they'll slip up and I know they'll say stuff. Just like the offensive line last week was basically saying the complete opposite of John Morton, which that should tell you right away that things aren't going the way that they expected. You have John Morton blaming the players, essentially saying they can't win one-on-ones. And then you have the players saying, no, it's not about one-on-ones. It's more about scheme. We got out-schemed. So that we probably should have told us all right away that this thing was over. But Jahmyr Gibbs said something very interesting. Very, very interesting. Now, let's play this clip. This is Jahmyr Gibbs after the game. Listen to this question. It's a great question by Justin Rogers. Listen to Jahmyr Gibbs and his response. All right? Let's take a listen. This is Jahmyr Gibbs. This is after the game in the locker room.
And talk today about taking over play calling. Did it feel any different for you out there?
I mean, like the flow and stuff, like I feel like it was just, I mean, you didn't know what we were going to run. So, I mean, and you know, he's been here for a minute, so he knows how the offense runs. So he's called plays here before. So, I mean, I wasn't here, but I've seen that. So, yeah.
Does it feel good to have kind of, I guess, a coach like that when things aren't going as well as they could have been, that he can step in and kind of handle things? Say, I got this.
Yeah, you always want a coach that can, you know, he knows what to do at all times. He's a leader, and also he's called plays before. So, I mean, overall, he's just an amazing coach. So, yeah.
Please tell me you heard that. Please tell me you heard that. Jahmyr Gibbs said they just didn't know what we were going to run. Okay, so basically what you're saying is what Booner just said. So what you're saying is John Morton's predictable. Is that? And then I think he realized he said that, and he was like, shit. Yeah, he just knows this offense. Well, your offensive coordinator should know this offense too. I mean, he should know. He should definitely know this offense. So, yeah. Jahmyr Gibbs pretty much just let out what the media. And by the way, I don't think that was Justin Rogers. That's my mistake. It might have been Nolan who asked the question. Regardless, whoever asked the question is a great question. And Jahmyr Gibbs slipped up there and essentially said that they without saying it, without really getting into it, but they've been predictable. They've been predictable offensively, man. And that's what Graham said this week. He said we got out-schemed more so than one-on-ones. We got out-schemed by Brian Flores. Brian Flores out-schemed John Morton, which we haven't seen too much of with Ben Johnson versus Brian Flores. So clearly it's a play calling issue. And I want to make this very clear, okay? John Morton, I believe, is a bright dude. I think he knows offense. I think he knows the pass game. He was the pass game coordinator with the Broncos. And Bo Nix had a lot of success. But that's really, I think, in my opinion, I think that's what he is in the NFL. I think he's a pass game coordinator. I don't think he's a play caller. You can know offense but not be able to call plays. Those two things are true. You can be a bright guy offensively. You can know X's and O's. You can watch a ton of film. John Morton, I believe, busts his ass. They talk about it. He doesn't leave the film room or doesn't leave his office till Friday night. I think he works hard. It's not a question of if he works hard. It's can he call plays? Those are two different things. And that's what I harped on this offseason when discussing John Morton and why I was more hesitant. I mean, Lukas straight up said, I don't believe in the guy. I tried to give him a chance, but my biggest worry is play calling is a different task. It is a flow. And I think Jared Goff, I forgot who it talked about it. It might have been Jared Goff. I think he talked about it a little bit, but he said it's something you can't really teach. It's like a feel of the game. That's essentially what it is. It's a feel for the game. It's knowing when to call plays. It's this constant chess match within a game facing other defensive coordinators. And Johnny Moe, for whatever reason, just can't do that. What I do think John Morton does that Anthony Lynn can't do, and this is why I think he'll stay, even though he got demoted, is I don't think Anthony Lynn was prepping Dan Campbell like John Morton has been doing. I believe John Morton can prep Dan Campbell, can watch film, can help out in the pass game, and I think Dan talked about that. I believe it's true. I think John Morton can get Dan Campbell ready to go. Don't touch the play call sheet, though, John. Appreciate it. Don't touch it. All right? Stay away from it. Don't do it. I mean, it's like any workplace, any business. You can be good at, a lot of things within a company, but maybe you just can't be the head of something. Maybe you just can't run it. Maybe that's not your forte. Like, I think John Morton knows offense. I think he could help out offensively. He could be an assistant, but to be the man in charge, for whatever reason, it's just not a good mix for him. And that's okay. It's all good. But Dan Campbell now realizes, yeah, I don't know if John Morton's the guy for this job. Maybe he's just the guy that'll help me get ready. Maybe he's just billed as an assistant, which, by the way, has been the storyline of John Morton's career. He's been an offensive coordinator in the NFL one time, and he was fired. And at the time, I'm looking at this thing going, okay, well, that's odd, but it is the Jets. I mean, but the problem he had with the Jets was play calling. It was, bailing on the run. passing too much, whatever the case may be. And it might be different issues now, but it's a predictable offense. That's what Jahmyr Gibbs kind of hinted at. They didn't know what we were going to call. And Dan Quinn is a bright defensive guy. So Dan Campbell can give credit and say, the way the players were playing, anybody could have called plays. Dan, let's be real here. If that was the case, you wouldn't have taken the play call duties away. So clearly it's working with Dan Campbell calling the plays. He did an excellent job, and credit to Dan Campbell. Because like I said, although I don't think ideally, I don't think Dan really wants to call plays long-term. He does what he has to do. That's what Dan is, man. He's a team guy. He'll step up when he has to. And even though it's a difficult task to be a head coach and call plays, because you have to be focused on everything within your club. And when you're focused on offensive play calling, and you have to give a lot of your time to that, it's hard to balance everything. But he did that, and he did it at a high level. So credit to Dan Campbell for it. But there's no way in hell he should ever be calling plays, John Morton. And this is from Nolan Bianchi. He tweeted this out. This is Dan Campbell after the game talking about the change up at OC. All right, here's Dan Campbell talking about it.
Can't see it. Can't see anymore.
But you talked about some changes coming in. I mean, just talk about it. It appears if you were calling players, what was the mindset behind changing things up? Were you calling plays?
Yeah, it was just let's try something a little different, right? And look, I know what I want to do. I know how I want to do it. Now, that being said, this is a collaborative effort now. I mean, I was taking input from John Morton that whole time and the other coaches. So, hey, man, what do you think here? Third down. All right, we get into this. 3rd and 7 plus, blah, 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 blah. All right, where are we at? Give me the. So, this is all encompassing. We all work together. Coaches did a hell of a job. But I just wanted to change it up a little bit. Let's just see if maybe a different play caller can maybe get us a little rhythm. That's all. And it honestly is nothing more than that. I know you're probably going to want to ask questions about, well, what about this, or I heard this. It's not that. This was a change. We made a change. It was good for today.
Yeah, you made a change, and it was great for the day, and it's probably going to be good for the rest of the year. All right, this is a permanent change. It's not just a temporary. This isn't like, hey, we're going to switch things up. This is a move. Changing a play caller is a move you can't walk back. You can't. That's why it's like benching your starting quarterback when there's question marks surrounding him. Your backup throws for 300 yards and wins. You're not putting your starter back in the game. All right, you've made the change. You already went there. You can't go back, especially when you have that much success. So you're in. Morton's out. He's out of play calling, at least. He'll help Dan get ready for the game, but the change is permanent. This is a permanent change, and it's an excellent change. Like, I know after week 1, there was a lot of question marks with John Morton, and I was obviously destroying John Morton. And, even I was like, you know what? It wasn't a great game from him from a play calling standpoint, but there was such a meltdown offensively. Let's give him some time. And, they beat up on the Bears. They beat up on bad teams. But even when they beat up on the Bengals or they beat up on the Browns, there was still, like in the Browns game, the players talked about, wasn't a clean game offensively, but you know what? We'll take the win. And that was impressive, right? They're like, oh, well, they still won. It wasn't again, they didn't play like they did today. And the Browns defense is obviously not a bad defense. They have Myles Garrett, for example. But you could just tell, like, okay, they still got to iron some things out offensively, but we were all willing to give it some more time. But I think that Vikings game really showed everyone this is much more than just the O-line's got to play better. This is like a schematic issue, play calling issue, offensive flow issue. And Dan saying, like, yeah, we just want to change things up and see if we can get into a rhythm. Insinuating that your former play caller couldn't get your offense into a rhythm tells me all I need to know. Like, you're 5-3. If you're going to make a move like this, you got to make it now. The NFC North is not getting any easier. The Bears They won. The Vikings lost. The Packers could win tonight. We'll see. But this race is real. The race for the number 1 seed is real. All right? So Dan Campbell made this, and he talked about it. They made this change after the game on Monday. It's just, it was immediate. So it shows that they knew what it was. Phil says Ben Johnson called bad games too. Yeah, I'm not saying Ben Johnson was perfect, but here's the difference. Ben Johnson would call a bad game, and what would Dan Campbell do? Have his back. Because they know. Like, you don't have to be, no one's asking John Morton to be perfect. No one's asking John to be perfect. It's been so bad that Dan Campbell has only done this, by the way, twice. Twice. He did it with Anthony Lynn, and what happened with Anthony Lynn? He was fired. And now he's doing it with John Morton. He never took the play calling duties away from Ben Johnson. So even if there was a bad game that Ben called, I'm not saying he was perfect by any means. He never took the play calling duties away. That's a massive deal. Like that's basically it's a death sentence. I mean, it's basically you're done. You're out. At least a play calling, even if he believes John's a good assistant, which I think he can be a good assistant. Like I talked about. It's not about John. I don't think John's like a buffoon and knows nothing. But yeah, I mean, it's not even equivalent. Ben and John Morton. Like, yeah, okay. Look at both their resumes. I mean, there was never this many question marks about the offense. I mean, there wasn't ever any question marks about the offense like this. This is a whole nother animal with John Morton. So this thing is written. It's set in stone. And you saw yesterday, like Jameson Williams had a 100-yard game. There was a drive where JMO had basically every catch on the drive up until the touchdown. I mean, it's like it felt like Dan was basically like, hey, we've been struggling to get JMO involved. Okay, let's just call a couple plays here real quick and just get this guy 5 catches in a drive. I'll show you how easy this shit is. Let's just get. We have all these skill position players, and I think we can all agree the Lions have the best collection of weapons in the entire NFL. I believe it. Like from the running backs, I think they have the best running back duo. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor is the best running back, but as a duo, it's an elite running back duo. They have an offensive line that obviously isn't what it was, but it's not a bad offensive line. You have the best tackle in the league. You have a top 15 probably tackle when he's playing good, Taylor Decker. You know, I think Tate Ratledge is a rookie. Okay, I get it. He's had good games. He's had bad games. He's up and down. Yodi is a serviceable starter. I think Taylor Decker even said that dude's a starter in this league, and I believe it. Yodi's not a bad player at all. And Graham is up and down. So it's not a bad offensive line. It's not a great offensive line by any means. I'm not arguing that. But other than that, I mean, Jared Goff is a top 8, top 7 quarterback in the NFL. Amon-Ra is a top 5, top 3 wide receiver, depending on what year he is. I mean, he's incredible, Amon-Ra. J-Mo, one of the fastest players in the league. Sam Laporta, one of the best tight ends in the league. Like, you should be able to move the freaking ball. You should be better than the New Orleans Saints on third down. Is that too much to ask? I mean, is that too much to ask? You should be better than the New Orleans Saints on third down. Okay? That's what I'm asking for. And yesterday, I don't know what they were exactly on third down, but they were significantly better. I know they didn't have too many third down situations as it is. They scored on every single possession, guys. They scored on every single possession yesterday. And let me see. So on third down against the Commanders, I'll check this right now. So they were 5 of 10. They were 50% on third down. You'll take that. 2 of 2 on fourth down. They had almost 550 yards of offense. 8 yards per play. 9.1 yards per pass. I mean, the Lions, Jared Goff wasn't sacked once. He wasn't sacked once. So, yeah. 226 yards of rushing offense, 4 of 6 in the red zone. They had 3 penalties, which was a big one. They had a lot of penalties last week, but it just seemed like the changing of the play caller just locked everybody in, and everybody was just had a spark out there. And I agree with Robert. He should call plays for the rest of the season. That's how it should be. Wheezy D says, I thought Jeff would be mad because JMO went off. No, I love JMO. I think JMO's an incredible player. I've defended JMO for years, actually, against my former co-host and Sam Flannel. I've actually always had JMO's back. But the problem I had, not with JMO necessarily, but with Brad Holmes, is why trade up all these picks for a receiver if you're going to give your wide receiver 2 a massive extension when you have 2 years left of control. You have 2 years left of JMO, and you give him an extension. So now he's under a contract for like 5 or 6 years. So Isaac Tesla, to me, is basically a career wide receiver 3, which is a little confusing given you traded up all those picks for him. But regardless, JMO's an incredible player. He really is. I can't say nothing about him as a player. Can't say anything about his talent. I think JMO actually has a more of a route tree than people think he does, and I think they showed that yesterday. I mean, he had the comeback routes, the crossers. Which, by the way, I'll get to the defense. I want to mention this on the offense. They ran a lot more of those crossers yesterday, attacking the middle of the field. Yeah, you saw that. Get JMO in space. We've been asking for it. Get JMO in space. Running crossers. I mean, get the guy in space. He's one of the fastest players in the NFL. It can't be this complicated. Get the guy in space. Give him the football. Look what happens. He makes plays. He's not Rashid Shaheed. Okay, and I like Rashid Shaheed, but he's not just a deep threat. All right, he can do more. He's not John Ross. All right, he's a much more complete receiver than that. It's very simple, man. And that's been really frustrating, to be honest with you. So yeah, I wanted to talk about the offense and just say that Dan Campbell did an incredible job. I think he'll call plays for the rest of the year. And when you hire a new OC, my advice, not that my advice matters, but if you like it, get a proven offensive coordinator. Do what the Eagles did. All right? Do what the Eagles did. Nick Sirianni, they had Shane Steichen. He was an elite offensive coordinator. They lost him. They regressed. They lost in the first round of the playoffs. They cleared house. They cleared their OC in DC. And guess what they did? They got 2 guys that were proven. They got Kellen Moore, who's had top 5 offenses, who's been a really good OC, and Vic Fangio, who's been an elite DC for years. Go get proven coordinators. That's what I would. My suggestion. Don't take another chance on a frickin' John Morton. Or at least if you're going to get a newer OC, go get a guy who hasn't been in the league for 20-something years and has only been an OC once. But you like him because there's familiarity. And he was here with Ben Johnson. I need more than that. I need more than that. All right, I need someone that's at least has a ton of potential, not someone that's been the past or, John Morton's like, well, he's been here. Why hasn't John Morton got more opportunities then? Why didn't Sean Payton make him his OC? Why didn't John Gruden make him his OC? That's all I'm saying. He's just been an assistant at basically his whole career. That should have told you everything you needed to know, in my opinion. But let's talk about the defense, shall we? The defense yesterday, they had some woes. I guess there was like a drive where they didn't look good, and the run game. I know they were way better, way better yesterday. They averaged 3.4 yards a carry, and you'll take that. 3.4 yards a carry. They sacked Marcus Mariota twice, 16 to 22, 213 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he had some of that in garbage time, but regardless, I thought the defense, there's things they got to clean up too. I'm not going to say that they're perfect. I thought the defense, last week was put in some bad positions. The special teams, I know 3 of these points by the Commanders were given up because of like a 50, 60-yard return, and they had to run like 3 plays to get in field goal position. But overall, Was there lapses in run defense? Yeah, there were. I mean, you had some 9-yard runs here and there, but average wise, I mean, 3.4 yards a carry. Guys, like, you'll take that. You'll take that. I mean, again, they have to get better and better and better as the season goes on, because you're going to face Saquon Barkley this week. So if you want to be shaky on defense, especially when it comes to defending the run, you're going to get torched against really good running backs. Like, listen, Chris Rodriguez Jr., he's like, okay. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, they call him Bill. He's not a bad back. He averaged 2.7 yards a carry. Like, I thought they did a fine job. I'm not going to say it was elite yesterday. Again, they gave up some big runs, 9-yard runs. They gave up a 9-yard run to Jeremy McNichols, 9-yard run to Chris Rodriguez. But again, they're not going to be perfect. I think those guys in the middle just got to be better. They got blown off the ball a couple times, but I thought the defense yesterday, the passing defense, they had lapses at times, but I've seen good performances from this defense. I'm not going to panic. I thought the big thing for me yesterday on defense was really just Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, he had no tackles, no sacks, no tackle for losses. I mean, he just had a bad game, I'll be honest. Aiden Hutchinson has had a bad game, and it happened. I mean, he's had a sack pretty much every game, so I'm not going to harp too much on the guy. I mean, he's had a sack pretty much in every game but 2. Now 3 with this game, but he's got 7 sacks in, I believe, 8 or 9 games. So am I panicking? No, but no, Aiden didn't have a great game yesterday. I mean, the only stat he had on the day was a pass deflection, and that's because he had almost a pick. It was a one-handed attempt, and then he had a quarterback hit late. It was kind of after the ball was already out. But who did have a really good game? Brian Branch. And this is the game I was waiting on from Brian Branch. He had a sack and a half yesterday, sacked Marcus Mariota earlier in the game. I think it was 14-3 at the time. Came off, I think, a little spin move he hit, and then he had a half a sack later in the game. He had a tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits, 7 tackles on the day. Well, he got beaten coverage one time, but Brian Branch, this is what I've been wanting to see out of Brian when it comes to rushing the passer, man. He has, on the year, 2.5 sacks. He hasn't gotten an interception yet, but that's coming from Brian. He usually finds a way to take the ball away. But I can't criticize the defense too much. Like, could they have been better? Yeah, they're going to get some guys back here. You could tell in the run game, defending the run, they missed Josh Paschal, very underrated run defender. I've came at Josh for his ability to rush the passer, but defending the run is something you can't really question with Josh Paschal. He's a very good run defender, and he's going to help them when he comes back for sure. Ali McNeil, he's still kind of getting into a rhythm. You could tell he didn't really do much yesterday either. But overall, though, the defense I'm not too worried about, man. I mean, they are, let me see here. I'll tell you right now. The Lions as a defense, they are 12th before the game. Or I think it might be, I can't tell if it's before this game, this recent game, or after, but regardless, 12th in a scoring defense, 7th in yards per game, 7th in opponents' yards per play, 8th in opponent third down conversion rate. I mean, they're 25th in opponent red zone scoring, so they can be better in the red zone. But overall, they've been a pretty good defense. So I can't even really sit here and just crap on the defense. I mean, they've been the more consistent unit, to be honest, and they haven't been put in great positions. They really haven't. They haven't been put in great positions, especially last game on special teams, but they've been kind of holding their own. AQM was pretty quiet. I will agree with that. And I will say this about AQM. My big concern, and I don't want to be the guy that has to always wait for the ball to drop. I'm not trying to do that with AQM, but I've said in the past before, AQM's having a great year. All right. He's having a really good year. But his pass rush win rate is kind of dropping over the last couple of weeks. It's dropping. And this happens with players that are not maybe on Aiden's level or even on even below Aiden, but the step below Aiden. There's players that can consistently keep up production from the entire year. And they'll have moments or games where they don't quite play like they usually play, but they'll bounce back and end up playing well. I think AQM's just kind of fallen off a little bit. He's just taking a dip. He's coming back down to earth. And that was my big concern just with this long term is I hope AQM's start to the year doesn't make Brad go, we don't need no help on the pass rush. AQM's playing well. You need help. You need all the help you can get. You got to have multiple options here coming into the game, being able to rush the passer to help aid Hutchinson out. And I know Marcus Davenport's going to get back, but I don't even want to harp on that too much because you guys know how I feel about Marcus Davenport. But regardless, I think that's another position that I wouldn't have minded if Brad added at the deadline. I've already spoke about that. Obviously, guard was the big one, but I wouldn't have minded another defensive end. You can never have enough of them, man. You can never have enough of them. It helps. It helps your pass rush. It helps Aiden. If you have more bodies, it keeps guys fresh. It helps guys like AQM stay fresh. Helps guys like Marcus Davenport stay fresh. But, now you kind of put your eggs into the AQM basket, and now you have Aiden, AQM, and Davenport for basically the rest of the year. So, and Tyrus Wheat, Tyler Lacey, this is kind of your edge room. This is what your pass rush looks like. So, you are heavily Aiden dependent, but it's okay. You can't do nothing about it now. It is what it is. So, Ahmed Hassani is coming back. It's probably not fair to depend on a guy who just started playing football 3 years ago. I think he can be a good player with the right development and the right coaching. But to say that he'll come back and be leaned on is probably a little irresponsible. I don't know if that's going to be the case. But yeah, AQM, I don't think registered a single stat yesterday. I don't even see him on the box score. I don't think he registered a single stat. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being completely serious here. I don't see him at all on here. So, yeah, I'm just being honest. Just being honest. Patrick says, anyone can criticize anyone. Stop acting like Brad or Dan can't handle the heat. I agree with Patrick, man. It's a great comment. Yeah, no one's absolved from criticism, man, ever. Myself included. We're all, it's how the world works. All right. I get criticized all the time. I'm cool with it. Comes with the job. Just like if you're a head coach or a GM, you get criticized. It comes with the job. No one's off limits. Easy D. This is why I love Howie Roseman. Go ahead, Jeff. No, it's people, and you can talk about. Listen, do I bring up Howie Roseman as like an example of not? I don't want Brad to do every single thing Howie Roseman does, but I do bring up Howie Roseman because there are things that he does that I wish Brad would do more of. It's not just him; it's Les Snead too. And can you blame me? I'm looking at two GMs that have won that don't have the best or second best quarterback of all time. So you can't look at Brett Veach with the Chiefs. It's like the guy's got Mahomes and Andy Reid. We don't have that. Okay, the Lions do not have that. So you can't use them as an example. You can't use the Patriots with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick as an example. You don't have Bill Belichick or Tom Brady. So you have to use teams that don't have Hall of Fame, one or two, the second best or first best quarterback, and then the first or second best head coach of all time. And it's Les Snead and it's Howie Roseman. So forgive me for using them as an example. Okay. It's like the Eagles are doing pretty good without having a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, who many would probably criticize or say he's not good enough here, there, whatever it is. He proved a lot of people wrong by winning a Super Bowl. But Howie Roseman's done a great job of building a roster around him. And they won a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. And that's pretty comparable to Dan Campbell and Jared Goff. Les Snead did it with Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford. Okay? So you got to use them as examples. We can't say that our way, the Lions way, is better than the Rams way or the Eagles way because they've won. We just get to a Super Bowl before you start talking about your way working better than theirs. Let's just get to a Super Bowl. I'm not even asking to win it. Just get there. Jared's been there with the Rams, with Les Snead, but you haven't. So that's why I don't think anyone's absolved from it. But I don't want to get too negative because they're coming off it's a good win. And I spoke about it earlier this week. It's hard for me to take a ton away from that win because they're a bad team, but I think you learned a lot about the offensive flow, offensive rhythm, the play calling yesterday for sure. I also want to say Dave Phipp, you got to get your shit together, man. Dave Phipp's got to get his shit together. And I love Dave Phipp. He's such a character. If you would listen to his press conferences, he's always been a fan favorite, or at least like a media favorite. Everyone loves Dave Phipp. But, dude, these special teams, some of these special teams breakdowns are kind of getting a little too much here. All right, Dave Phipp. You seem like a great guy. All right, you seem like an amazing dude. And he brought up the 6'7" reference in the press conference. Listen, Dave Phipp, he's a character, but we can't have these big gashes on special teams because you can get away with it against the Commanders. You obviously didn't get away with it against the Vikings, but if you do not fix this, you're going to get bit in the ass against the Eagles and against these better opponents because they're going to capitalize on short fields. So Dave Phipp, I think there's no question Dave Phipp's very good at his job. But this goes back to what we were saying about coaching and taking accountability is it's on the coaching and the players. But coaching's involved, you know what I mean? It's just part of it. Like, I'm not saying fire the guy, but I'm saying the special team's got to be better, man. Like, they got good special teamers. They probably need a better gunner. Like Khalil Dorsey, they do miss. Like Khalil Dorsey, Khalil Dorsey, they definitely miss. Is because I think he's still out, isn't he? Yeah, he's on IR. So of course they're going to miss Khalil Dorsey and everything, but they got to just fix the special teams. All right, they only had one gash against the Commanders, but just don't let this shit happen to the better teams because with better offenses, it's just how it goes. Booner says, can promise Dave Phipp is the last problem. Well, we can't, we got to watch going down this road again where we say the coordinator is the last problem because I don't think Dave Phipp's the majority issue on special teams, but you can't say he's absolved from blame if special teams is not working. It's like me being a CEO, the company's failing and I'm not the issue. It's the employees. You know, it's like, no, bro, you're the leader of that unit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you're the leader. So if your unit is not having success, you're part of the blame. Like, it's just like, I wish you could be a boss and be like, nah, man, I'm chilling. It's the employees. I'm cool. But unfortunately, it's not how it works. You got to be better. I mean, you got to be better, bro. That's how it goes. I mean, it's accountability across the board. This is the year of accountability. All right. And Dave Phipp deserves something. I think he should even admit, like, yeah, I'm in charge of special teams. So if special teams isn't performing well, it is what it is. You know, and Booner says you can't blame Phipp like he's Morton. Phipp is actually proven. Morton was not proven. Yeah, but that doesn't work like that in the NFL. Just because you have good years, every year is different. Every year is a new chapter for every coordinator. If I'm a good offensive coordinator and I have a good offense for 3 years, and the next 2 years I'm struggling, I can't say, well, don't fire me. I had good offenses for 2 years. It's not how it works. It's every year is a new year. If you can't get your shit together, you're under criticism. Your resume, quite frankly, you could take it into consideration, but it's not the only thing that's going to matter here. You know, like John Morton was bad and he doesn't have the resume Dave Phipp has. I completely agree with that. But you see offensive coordinators get fired, defensive coordinators get fired, even having past success if they're struggling. So they have to fix it. You know, it just comes with the job. Again, I'm not saying fire the guy at all, but it's just like you can't just constantly pull out the resume and be like, well, the last 2 years I've been good, so I should be excused. Like, well, at some point, dude, special teams got to be bad. There's got to be better. It's just got to be better. So that's Booner says this is week 2 of bad special teams. I don't even think it's been week. Has it been only 2 weeks of bad special teams? I feel like it's been kind of an all year where there's been slip ups. Last 2 weeks, it's been very evident. But we can't, again, like, I don't believe, I think everyone should be held to the same accountability standard. I don't think it's, I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's the case of because you're Dave Phipp, you're absolved from all blame. I think that's not how I would listen. If I'm a head coach or you're running, I'm just always going to use the comparison. If you're running a company, I don't think that's always the case. Like, I don't give a shit what your resume is. If you can't run your unit at a high level, no matter what you did in the past, you're held to the same accountability standard as other guys are. So That's just how it is. Again, Dave Fipp is safe right now. But all I'm saying is the guys we can't have lapses on special teams. That's just, we can't. Like, you're not going to have lapses for the rest of the year, or they're going to show more lapses throughout the season and be like, oh, Dave Fipp's fine. No, we're not. So right now he's fine. But like Dan said, it was better than last week, but you can't be giving up 50-yard gains on returns. Like, whatever the case may be. You can't. Because if it's always on the players, then why do we have special teams coordinators? If it's always on the players, it's like, it's just all on the players. It's like, well, then why don't we have special teams coordinators? That's their job. It's like, you're supposed to put players in positions to succeed. That's what your job is as a special teams coordinator. Or else we would just hire you, Booner. If it's all the players, then they can hire you, Boone, and they'll be fine because it's all the players. It's like we're doing the offensive thing again. It's like, it's like you got to put you got to. It's just that doesn't make sense. It's not again, like, are players absolved from blame? No, but it's on both. That's my point. You got to look at both, man, coordinators and players. Booner goes, Jeff loves blaming coordinators. Well, I'm 1-0. So I would say when I blame a coordinator, when I feel it's right, it's correct. I mean, that's how it goes, man. Like, I never said players are absolved from blame, but why do you think Dan changed the play caller this week? Because they wanted a flow with the same players and they had success. So yeah, coaching matters. Like, and I'm sure we're going to get into this debate of a percentage and what percentage, and well, it's more on this. You're saying it's all Dave Fipp. I'm saying it's all the players. No, it's both, but I think Dave Fipp's not absolved. That's what I think. By the way, tonight the Eagles play the Packers. And I think the Eagles win tonight, but the Lions are still kind of in this thing. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the vision right now. Let me see if I can pull this up. The standings. So you have the Lions at 6-3. Let me pull this up for you guys. All right. So you see right here, Packers are 5-2-1. Lions are 6-3. Bears are 6-3. Vikings are 4-5. I don't know how the Bears are 6-3. I mean, they're 0-2 in the division, but I'm just saying, man. I don't know. I mean, I thought the Bears would be 9-8. They look better than I expected, but they have a tough stretch of games coming up too, man. So we'll see what happens there. But if the Packers lose tonight, they'll go to 5-3-1. Things look a lot differently here. And guess what? You play the Packers, you play the Bears at the end of the year, and you play the Vikings. So you're going to face all of them again. So this division, that win yesterday, I know it's the Commanders, and I know they're not very good. You're still in this thing. So I like where they're at. I like where they're at right now. Pat, you want the Packers to lose. Okay. And I know if you look at the Eagles are 6-2, so they go to 7-2. So I guess you could argue, well, the number one seed, they're going to be 7-2. They're going to be basically in the lead for the number one seed with the Seahawks, with the Rams. But to be honest with you guys, I care more about winning the division right now than this number one seed shit, even though it matters. I understand that. And you get a bye week, you get home field advantage to the playoffs. I get that. But let's just make sure the Packers lose tonight. Let's lock up this NFC North division. And then we'll talk about the one seed. We'll see where the chips fall kind of thing. But I'm not going to focus on the number one seed and hope the Packers win the game or whatever the hell. Like, screw that, dude. All right, I'm not doing that. So, Packers taking out. By the way, drop your mailbag questions. We'll get to mailbag for the last 10 minutes of the show. Michael K. Actually, the Packers have a special teams problem. Yikes, their kicker. We just got to kick touchbacks until they figure out their tackling. Yeah. I mean, that's Packers aren't a perfect team either. The Packers got their issues, man. They play down to their opponents. They lost to the Panthers. Like, this NFC North is still wide open. This NFC, by the way, the NFC Eagles, even though they're 6-2, they could be 7-2 if they win tonight. They look like they have issues. The Rams, to me, look like the best team in the NFC. They do. And I've been saying that. I think they're the best team in the NFL. But that's been my opinion. I know the Seahawks are up there too. But, Seahawks and the Rams right now are the two best teams in the NFC. It's not even a question. Mailbag, Taron had a concussion yesterday. Do you think he'll be out? Do you think he'll be out long? Probably not. It's unfortunate. He keeps getting nicked up and banged up, but I think he'll be back this week for the Eagles game. He just has to clear concussion protocol. But man, it's not a problem of if he's playing well. I think he's actually hanging in there. But yeah, it's unfortunate. It really is. So hopefully he can play this week. Lukas Klotz, the Packers have zero identity. He also says Dave Phipp is objectively perfect. That's a crazy thing to say. Objectively perfect is crazy. Booner, mailbag, why do you hate Dave Phipp? I don't hate Dave Phipp. I actually really like the guy. I think everyone should be held to the same standard. If your unit is struggling lately, you should be looked at. Like you guys should know this. I mean, what are we doing here? I want to work for you guys, man. I want to work for the guys that don't care about accountability. I want to work for you guys. Because then if I'm failing at my job, you guys will always keep me. I love that. I love that. I'll just blame the employees and you guys will be like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. It's the employees. You're good. All right, cool. Appreciate it. I mean, some of the blame's on Dave Phipp. I'm not saying the guy should be fired, but you guys would be fun to work for, though. I'll just be like, nah, it ain't me, man. It's the employees, bro. As I kick my feet up on the desk. It's like, dude. And then you'll be like, oh, yeah, it makes sense. For sure. It's the employees. I don't even know why I came in here to talk to you, actually. It's on the employees. You're good. What are we doing here? MC3 Hoodat, mailbag. What do you think is Graham's fate after this year? Cut or retire? I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know if he's at the retire point yet. I think Taylor's closer to that than he is. I would say they're probably going to replace Graham in the future. I think replacing him is probably going to happen sooner than later. You could just see he's slowing down for sure. So I think they should draft an offensive lineman this year and handle business. So that's what I believe. But yeah, that's going to happen. I don't think he retires. I think he's just straight up replaced. Mailbag, why do you gobble on the Bears so much? Well, number one, I don't gobble on the Bears. That's a crazy comment. I don't even know what evidence you have to suggest I gobble on the Bears. I don't even know why this is a thing. I mean, because what? I like Ben Johnson? When is the last time I talked about I don't even talk about the Bears. It's a ridiculous comment, all right? It's a ridiculous comment. Rahul. Jeff, how do we feel about the Super Bowl ceiling again with Dan calling plays? Listen, I think it's listen, I think offensively it looks better, obviously. I think there are concerns though, big picture, when it comes to winning the Super Bowl. I think offensively, the offensive line staying healthy is obviously it's scary. I mean, Penei Sewell got banged up again. If that offensive line gets hurt and you lose Penei or whatever the case may be, or Taylor Decker, it's going to be tough. You're screwed. I have to see a bigger sample size of Dan Campbell before I just sit here and say that they're going to win a Super Bowl with this play calling. I think he's better than John Morton, but I mean, we got to see it against the Eagles. I think I'll have a better answer for you when they play the Eagles, when they get to play the Rams, the Packers again. Not that the Packers are the measuring stick, but you kind of get my point. I want to see them through a tougher stretch of games before I kind of hop back and say this team's unquestioned a Super Bowl team. I think there's some question marks around this team, and I think you'll have answers as they face better competition. So give me a couple more weeks for that, Raul. But they did really good yesterday. So there's not a question in my mind. Shift God Mailbag, what do you think who do you think will have a big game versus the Eagles next Sunday? Who do I think will have a big game? I'm going to be honest. You know who's due for a big game? And I think on the road in these conditions is going to have a big game? Amon-Ra St. Brown. He only had like 58 yards yesterday. It was kind of the JMO game and the Jameer game. But Amon-Ra is going to get back into the equation here pretty soon. And I think Amon-Ra is due for like a 100-yard game, 8 catches, touchdown. Like, I think you're going to see a big game from him this week. And honestly, I think the running backs play well. I think this Eagles defense, it's a little spotty. They can't really rush the passer. I want to see Jalen Phillips tonight. That's what I want to see. I want to see how he affects their defense. But Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis are tough to run on. But again, if you're running to the edges like Jahmyr Gibbs can do, he's gone. So I want to see Jahmyr Gibbs. And I know it's like the easy answer, but it's really true. And maybe even Sam Laporta. Like Sam Laporta against a team like this at linebacker, who's guarding Sam Laporta? Who's guarding Sam Laporta? So they don't have a linebacker that can stay with him. They don't. But here's Klotz. Give David Shaw the play sheet. It's tough, man. Like I liked it. I actually like David Shaw. I just think if you hand the play calling duties to John Morton and then you take them away and then you hand them to David Shaw, you gotta be 1,000% sure it's the right decision, because if you take it away again, now we're just running it. What kind of operation are we running here? It's like it is a little tricky, and David Shaw has never called plays in the NFL either. So it's like you're taking it away from John Morton and giving it to another guy who doesn't call plays. It's like, I know it sounds great, but let's think about that for a second. It's like, you're Dan Campbell, it's another risk you're taking, and God forbid that screws up. You look like an idiot. I mean, you do. You're like, okay, we're gonna take the play call sheet away from this guy who can't call plays and give it to this guy, and if he can't call plays, I'm gonna take it away again. And then it's like, just call plays, Dan. Just call the freaking plays for the rest of the year, and then go get an OC you like. That's what I think. Weezy D, by the way, asked about Cade Cunningham. Mailbag, you aware Cade is top 5? I am aware, by the way, Weezy. He's balling, bro. He should be in the MVP conversations. Not even a debate. They're looking top of the East right now. That's kind of where they're trending with record-wise, and he's their best player by far. He's balling. 20-something and 10. He's a stud, and he's cooking, and he's cooking everybody that goes up against him. And you know what defenses are doing against Cade. He's facing. Out of all superstars, he doesn't have a guy. He has guys that are playing well around him, but he doesn't have a true co-star, true co-star. Another guy giving him 25 a game. And he's putting in work. So credit to Cade, man. Like Duran's having a big year. Asar's having a big year. Duncan's kind of taken some steps lately. He's played a lot better than he did to start the year. Ron Holland, Isaiah Stewart. I know they had some guys out with injury, but Cade's getting double teamed. Like Real Creamer Wheat says, they're throwing everybody at him, and he's still finding ways to score. So Cade's an absolute stud, bro. And then he puts Andre Drummond in a body bag. What are we doing? Michael says, give the play call sheet to Hank Fraley. Yeah, you would like that, wouldn't you? Hank Fraley. Shout out to Hank. By the way, people were going at Hank a little bit with the O-line stuff. We going to give him credit? Look at yesterday's performance with Yodi, and you had Christian Cologne in there a little bit. Let's give Hank Fraley some credit here, man. The O-line looked better. So, when you criticize guys, I'm a big accountability person, but I give credit where it's due. I'll give credit if it's deserved. And Hank Fraley, man, give a lot of love to him. So they stepped up. Keys to wisdom. I hope Dan can prove me wrong, but I cannot see any path to the O-line playing well against a good NFL defense as well. We'll see, man. You'll find out a lot. You will find out a lot what this offense is against good defenses in the stretch kind of coming up here. So it'll be a good test for them, truthfully. And you'll find out a lot more. And we'll talk about this all tonight as well. Me and Booner will talk about it. You have a big game on tonight, Monday Night Football. Eagles, Packers. Can't wait for it. It's going to be so much fun. But I appreciate you all. The support on the channel has been incredible. Continue to watch our content. And honestly, turn on the notification bell. You get alerted when we post. That's all you need to know. We'll be live at 7 tonight, by the way. We're live at 7 to 8. And then we have the Eagles-Packers game. So come hang with us, man. Talk some ball. Yeah, we're going to go live a little earlier. And then we'll watch the Packers-Eagles game. Because that's what people should come hang out with us and watch it. It'll be a good game. I can't wait for it, man. It's going to be such a great game. Monday night game. So be there. 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. Crunch Time Sports. Until then, I will catch you all. Much love to you guys. Get your merch, by the way, officialctsports.com. You can scan it, pause the screen, scan that, take you to the website, get yourself some merch. All right, I'll catch you guys.